Have you ever been locked out of your house? Turns out most locks are pretty easy to pick, and with enough practice, you can open a lock with just about anything. So this begs the question, what would it take to make an unpickable lock? And so today, we're gonna find out.
Wow. Did you get that?
Now, of course, a quick search online will get you to some others that have done something similar. However, since there's clearly more than one way to design a lock, I figured there'd be plenty of room left to design my own. And so in preparation for this design process, I've been training myself on how to pick locks. And as of today, I can pick this toy wooden lock and transparent locks, which let you see right through them. But before we go any farther, let's break down how a lock works. In this animation, you'll see a basic lock and key. If we take a look inside, you'll see a set of pins of varying heights. When the correct key is inserted into the lock, the pins align with the cuts on the key, which are pushed up into position. When all the pins are in the correct position, there's a small gap between the bottom pins and the top pins that align with this shear line. This allows the lock's core to rotate and unlock the lock. Now there's a lot of different ways to pick locks. Traditional methods involve using tension wrenches. Another method is bumping. This method and we also have decoding. This method specializes in other tools to rotate the lock mechanism heights to unlock the lock under the keyway. Realistically, there are a ton of ways to pick a lock, so we're going to focus on what most traditional lock picking methods have in common. This involves tensioning the core, which provides a rotational torque to the core while pushing up on the pins. We can see this in action here. When the core is tensioned and the key pin is picked, there's a chance that the top pin will get stuck on the ledge of the core. If this can be done for all the pins, then the core can be rotated and the lock is unlocked. This common thread between lock picking methods is what we're going to be exploiting in our design. Now, normally with a project like this with potentially small and complex parts, I'd be designing them to be machined. However, since my access to any machines is pretty limited right now, and since having parts machined online seems to be extremely expensive,
That's insane.
Whoa.
Makes sense.
I will be designing as much as I can to be laser cut from sheet metal.
That's so cheap.
So we'll start with what we know. We want to keep this core from being tensioned unless all the pins are set correctly. Now let's add a secondary pin to lock this core in place. Here's a quick cross section. Then we'll have to link this set of pins together, and I'm thinking something like this rocking arm. Now that we have our basic idea down, let's jump right into CAD. Alright, I think I have something figured out. Let's walk through it. Just like a normal tumbler lock, we have a number of pins that a key will position correctly. Now, this is where things get a little bit different. As you can see, there's a lot going on, so let's break it down. Each pin has its own layer of parts that move with it. First, these pins move a secondary pin on top, which I'm calling the gravestone pin. In turn, this pushes a rocking arm, which then pushes a sliding arm in and out of the core. As you can see here, the teeth exist to directly prevent anyone from tensioning the core. So if a pin is being tried while tensioning, it should prevent the pin from even moving. In order to prove out the design, I made a quick cardboard model. Then I ran it through the motions just to see if I was missing anything. Pins go up fine. I'm gonna lose so many of these. And that seems a bit too easy. Let's go back. It looks like there's a notch missing on all of these pieces. I knew it was too easy. So you can actually see that the teeth are shredding this plastic apart into little bits. So we'll have to fix that. To fix this, we're going to need to redesign the core a little bit to be machinable from metal. So I've just split this part into 2 parts, and then again into 4 different parts to allow for the undercut where the teeth are. However, while I was doing this, I ran into a different problem. I don't know if you remember the gravestone pins from earlier. Well, they sure are living up to their name. Let's actually lock the key in. So I think I figured out the problem. These pins are just way too small. They don't fit. You can see they have way too much play in them. And this allows for them to get wedged in place, especially when the core is being turned, which is why the key was stuck earlier. So the solution here was just making them a little wider and taller, as well as a radius at the bottom so it has less surface area when it's in contact with the core. Alright, let's finish this thing up.
So you have to get lucky. You have to just do this just right.
What's the point, man? Unpickable. In theory.
In theory, yeah. No, I think it actually would technically be unpickable. See, I just know. I'm like, I get it. past that certain point, but I think we're locked up.
Wow.
Did you get that?
Yeah. Oh no. Well, that's impressive.
Hey, this was a really good challenge.
This may look like a failure, but this is actually a great thing for development, and a great example of hindsight. When I was testing my model, there was always only one serrated arm, but in reality there's 5. Now you might be able to start to see the problem here. With so many layers of teeth, and each layer offset from one another, the teeth almost form a flat surface across the top. This made it so that the teeth never engaged and allowed a picker to tension it almost as if it was a normal pin tumbler lock. Luckily, I think there's a pretty simple solution to this, and that is that all the arms have 2 sets of teeth, and I don't think there's any need for the first set. So you can see by getting rid of that first set of teeth, anybody who's tensioning this should lock themselves out, falling into this trap, really as it was designed to do in the first place, instead of floating along the top of each tooth. And then last, but certainly not least, we have this encoder bar, which should prevent anyone from trying to decode the lock. So to wrap everything up, I'm calling this project finished for now. It would also be really neat to get this in the hands of the lockpicking lawyer, so hopefully that also interests you guys. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe because there are more projects in the works.